stars explode in the quiet night.
The silence of the observation deck was a physical presence, a void so profound that Aris Thorne could hear the hum of his own nervous system. He floated, weightless and unmoored, before the horizon's Whisper's colossal viewport. The ship hung in high anchor orbit, a speck of crafted intelligence suspended between the gas giant Oceanus and its jewel-like moon, Aethelgard. But it was Oceanus that commanded the view, that filled the entire frame and demanded awe. It was a titan of swirling color. Bands of ochre and burnt umber churned in vast, slow-moving rivers of gas, slashed through with deep, resonant sapphire. Storms the size of Earth's continents spiraled lazily, their edges fuzzy with ammonia ice. But it was the rings that held Aris captive. They were not the simple monochrome hoops of Saturn. These were a celestial artist's masterpiece. The innermost rings shimmered like a river of liquid gold and molten copper, catching the light of the distant sun. Beyond them lay a band of startling, vibrant emerald, studded with the diamond-hard glint of pure water ice. Further out still, the rings faded into ethereal veils of violet and indigo dust, a watercolor wash against the black velvet of space. Nestled within a stable Lagrange point within this kaleidoscope, bathed in its perpetual, reflected glory, floated Aethelgard. A water world, its atmosphere a swirl of pearlescent white and deep azure, with tantalizing glimpses of scattered, craggy landmasses and endless sea. A sight that never gets old, is it, Doctor? A calm, synthesized voice inquired, its tone a gentle baritone that seemed to emanate from the very air around him. Aris smiled faintly, not taking his eyes off the view. Never whisper. Every time it feels like the first time. Magnify Sector Theta 7, will you? I thought I saw movement in Aethelgard's upper atmosphere. Magnifying. A section of the moon's azure haze expanded, the resolution sharpening, and there they were, titans gliding through the deep sky. Their bodies were impossibly long, sleek, and streamlined, a shimmering pearlescent blue-gray that reflected the light of Oceanus's rings. Enormous, fin-like appendages, glowing with a faint, internal bioluminescence, propelled them with effortless grace through the jet streams. They moved in a loose, scattered pod, their passage stirring the cloud layers into gentle, swirling eddies. Sky whales, Aris breathed, the words barely a whisper. Cerulean class, they're even more magnificent than the survey reports suggested. Confirmed, macrofauna designation, sky whales. Analysis, gas bag buoyancy organ, hydrogen metabolism, feeding on atmospheric plankton, primarily Ethelonyx. Size estimate for the largest specimen, 480 meters. Nearly half a kilometer long, Aris mused, shaking his head in wonder. Living, breathing creatures, bigger than most starships, flying in an atmosphere, it defies belief. For Dr. Aris Thorne, exobiologist, this was the pinnacle. This was why he had endured years of training, cryosleep, and the profound loneliness of deep space. To witness miracles like this, he was a man in his late 40s, with a lean frame kept fit by shipboard gymnastics, and a face that was beginning to show the fine lines of a life spent squinting at scanner readouts and breathtaking vistas. His eyes, a quiet shade of gray, held a permanent spark of curiosity. Their migratory patterns are fascinating, Whisper continued, overlaying trajectory lines onto the view. They ride the thermal currents between Aethelgard and the inner rings of Oceanus. It is hypothesized they feed on the mineral and organic particulates found in the ring interface. A cross-system migration, Aris said, Incredible. Prepare the landing protocol. Whisper, I want to get a closer look. Target that large, stable landmass near the equatorial current, the one that looks like a giant lily pad. Designation accepted. Caution. Scans indicate the landmass is biological. Aris blinked, tearing his gaze away from the whales. Biological? You mean it's alive? Affirmative. Scans confirm metabolism, low-level neural activity, and a carbon silicate composition, unlike the geological formations on other continents. It is a living organism. How big? Aris asked, a thrill of excitement coursing through him. Approximately 15 kilometers in diameter. Provisional designation, Colonian reform. A living island, 15 kilometers across. The wonders of this system were piling up, one on top of the other. A living island it is. Designate it Turtle Reef Alpha. Take us down. The descent through Aethelgard's atmosphere was a turbulent, roaring affair. The Whisper shuddered as it bit into the upper layers, buffeted by powerful crosswinds that howled against its alloy skin. The viewports opaqued for a moment, then cleared to reveal the world below. Vast, wine-dark oceans stretched to the horizon, their surfaces ruffled by complex weather systems. The other landmasses were jagged, volcanic things, covered in dense, purple-hued vegetation. And there, moving with a pace so slow it was almost imperceptible, was Turtle Reef Alpha. It was indeed a titanic turtle-like creature. Its shell was a complex landscape of what looked like weathered rock, forested hills, and shallow, glittering lagoons. Its head was unseen, submerged somewhere ahead of its colossal bulk, its flippers moving in slow, powerful strokes that generated gentle, continent-sized waves in its wake. The horizon's whisper settled with a final, gentle thrum of landing gear on a relatively flat, moss-covered plateau near the center of the creature's back. The vibrations of the ship's systems faded, replaced by an alien soundscape. Aris took a deep breath, his hand hovering over the airlock release. This was always the moment of truth, the first step onto a new world. He cycled the lock and stepped out. The air was cool and bracing, carrying a complex cocktail of scents: the sharp tang of salt spray, the clean smell of ozone after a storm, and the rich, loamy yet subtly alien fragrance of the purple moss and the strange fern-like trees that dotted the landscape. The gravity was a pleasant surprise, perhaps Pointate Terran standard, giving his steps a light, buoyant quality. But the most profound sensation was the one that came up through the soles of his boots, a deep, resonant, rhythmic pulse. Thrum, pause, thrum. It was the heartbeat of the turtle reef, a slow, tectonic rhythm that spoke of a life measured in millennia, not years. He was standing on the back of a living, breathing creature. He looked up, and his breath caught in his throat. Oceanus dominated the sky, a striped, swirling giant that seemed close enough to touch. Its rings cut across the heavens in a breathtaking, tilted arc, casting shifting bands of colored light, gold, emerald, violet, onto the cloud decks of Aethelgard. It was a celestial ballet of light and shadow, more beautiful than any hologram or simulation. And then he saw them, unobscured by atmosphere or viewport, a pod of sky whales. They were closer than he had ever seen them, gliding majestically through the high atmosphere, their pearlescent hides shimmering. They were impossibly graceful, their movements a fluid dance. Then, one of the larger individuals let out a call. It was a sound that bypassed the ears, and resonated directly in the bones. A deep, complex note that was both a vibration and a melody, a sound of profound peace and ancient power. It rolled across the vast sky, and for a moment, the very air seemed to still in reverence. "Whisper," Aris whispered into his comlink, his voice thick with emotion. "Record everything. Audio, visual, atmospheric, biomagnetic, all of it. This is paradise." For a long time, he simply stood there, a lone man on the back of a living island, beneath a sky filled with singing leviathans and a godlike planet, feeling more insignificant and more privileged than he ever had in his life. The moment was shattered by Whisper's voice, its tone retaining its analytical calm, but the words carrying a new weight. Paradise exhibiting distress, analyzing sky whale vocalizations, increased frequency and altered harmonic structure consistent with biological stress signals. Observe pod at bearing 045. Aris's sense of wonder curdled into something colder, sharper. He followed the bearing Whisper had indicated, raising his macro binoculars. This pod was different, smaller. Their movements were not the fluid, effortless glides of the others. They were sluggish, erratic. One whale, a smaller specimen, listed heavily to one side, its bioluminescent fins flickering weakly like a faulty lamp. Their calls, when they came, were sharp, fragmented things, devoid of the deep, harmonious resonance. They were cries of pain. As he watched, horrified, a sudden, violent downdraft, a wind shear from a seemingly clear sky slammed into the struggling pod. The listing whale was caught full force, driven down perilously low. For a heart-stopping moment, it skimmed the crests of the ocean waves, its massive fins stirring up a plume of spray, before it laboriously, painfully, beat its way back to a safer altitude. "Storms," Aris said, his voice tight. "Whisper full atmospheric analysis. Now." Working, atmospheric turbulence has increased by 320% since our arrival. Jet stream patterns are becoming increasingly erratic. Correlation: the onset of sky whale health decline precedes major atmospheric instability events. A cold dread, colder than the Aethelgard breeze, settled in Aris's stomach. "You're saying their sickness is causing the storms." Hypothesis: sky whales are not merely inhabitants of the atmosphere, they are a regulatory component. Their hydrogen processing and large-scale thermal transfer via blood vessel convection play a key role in stabilizing Aethelgard's weather systems. They are, in effect, the planet's lungs and circulatory system. "And they're sick," Aris finished, the pieces clicking into a terrifying whole. He activated his wrist-mounted bioscanner, focusing its long-range sensors on the struggling pod. "Scan the whales, full spectrum, find out what's wrong with them." The scanner whirred, its laser flickering. After a moment, Whisper's voice confirmed his fears. "Life signs weak, elevated stress hormones, evidence of systemic toxicity, neuromuscular degradation. The whales are being poisoned, searching for toxin source." Aris lowered his scanner, his eyes fixed on the suffering pod. The paradise he had marveled at moments before now felt fragile, balanced on a knife's edge. The song of the giants had been replaced by a dirge, and the sky itself was beginning to sicken. His mission of observation had just become a race against time.